Welcome back to the Gruber Morning Show. I'm Pete Gruber, and I have a special guest here today, Bradon with TeslaFlex, very successful TikTok influencer. And we're going to be talking about his channel and also the other channels that you're on. So what other ones are you on, Bradon?
So I mainly do TikTok, and then my second biggest platform would be YouTube, but I also do Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, basically anywhere you can post a video.
Mm-hmm. And the content of your videos, I know we talked about the most famous one, of course, is you spilling some red-colored liquid on a white seat. Was that a Model 3?
I've done it on the Model 3 and a Model Y.
And the Y, okay.
Yeah.
And you were telling me earlier that the, oh, by the way, let me finish then. So he spills it on the seat and then says something like, oh my God, I wonder if this will ever come off. And people are loving this, you know? And which was the hardest seat for you to get clean, or color, or type of liquid?
Honestly, it's always like the honey. The honey, or there was one, what was it? It was the soy sauce. I did it on the Model Y one time.
Yeah.
And it's like, it has like more of a darker oil. So like when I was getting it out, it was like, oh, like it stained a little bit, but then I had, I was before I put water on, so like it left that mark, and I was kind of worried. Put some water on there and it came right out, but nothing has really been like difficult to get out of the seat.
That is just amazing. So it doesn't get into the stitching and stain anything? It
sometimes touches it, but like, you know, usually like in the real world, you're not just gonna let it sit for 5 minutes. You're gonna be like, oh crap, something spilled, like I better wipe that up. It's not just gonna sit there. Like people like put paint on there and let it sit for 10 minutes. Like
I'm gonna pull that up.
That doesn't happen.
I think Jesse's pulling something up. What is it you're doing, Jess? Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the honey. You could also show the soy sauce one. That should be pinned, or a little further down.
That one looks like it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was a little difficult because like it like has like the honeycomb effect, so like it's hard to just wipe up.
Right, right. Oh, that image behind us, by the way, we used that in the last podcast as well. That's here in Phoenix at the Point Tapatio Cliffs. And I like to take the test drive cars up there occasionally. They've got some real nice little switchbacks, very short, but and it's beautiful up there. You get a view of Phoenix. That one evening, looking west, caught a bit of a sunset with blue sky, and I thought that was pretty special. What you're seeing behind Bradon there is cliffs. That's why they call it the Tapatio Cliffs. And those of you that are, if you ever come to Phoenix, it's a great place to stay. It's a five-star resort, I think, maybe 4-star, somewhere up there. But yeah, great place to stay if you're ever visiting Phoenix. Looks like we've got a TikTok question from Chris J. Quint. And he's saying, what is the shortest time to fully charge an EV battery? He is from Jeddah, KSA. Where's that? Anybody know?
I'll look it up right now.
All right, we're going to find out. What do you think? What is the shortest time to fully charge an EV battery?
I think fully charged is kind of like a loaded question because, you know, the 20 to 80% is going to be pretty quick. And then after that, it slows way down, especially like 90 to 100. It could take an hour just for that because the battery doesn't want to just throw the juice into it.
And we're assuming, of course, starting from you know, a depleted battery or fairly low, but obviously if it's you know, near full charge, it's going to be real fast.
Yeah.
What we like to talk about is the way the technology continues to improve and how the charge times are getting faster, the cables are getting thicker, and eventually we believe that cables are going to go away completely. There we go. Jeddah KSA is Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Well, thank you for joining us, Chris. We appreciate you coming into our podcast.
I'm going to put this up on the screen now, the soy sauce one.
Here goes soy sauce. All right. Now that one I thought was going to stain for sure because that's a pretty dark liquid, you know?
I've got a question for you, Bren. So have you ever gotten a comment on TikTok with somebody recommending that you do a specific substance and you're just like, no, I'm going to go ahead and avoid that?
Oh yeah, all the time. Like, I mean, I'll post one of those videos and like that soy sauce one on TikTok got like 85,000 comments, and a ton of them are just saying like, you know, things that like would obviously stain anything. Like they're asking for like some super dark ink or like paint that like, you know, like acrylic paint, like I think that might wipe off, but obviously if you leave anything on a seat, it's gonna stain. But there's like things I'll see and I'll be like, oh come on, like you're just saying that.
Well, I'm sure somebody said something like Flex Seal or
Oh,
like
yeah, yep.
Pine Tar or you know something just ridiculous like that.
Turmeric. I still have to actually try that one though, because I think it would come off.
Or something that's being sold as a stain.
Yeah.
With the, intentionally. But there's something interesting about this. Apparently the seats aren't as porous as most people think, because it doesn't seem to absorb.
Yeah, only place that like could really absorb is if the liquid stays in the stitching long enough, it could go up from underneath. Mm-hmm. And it happened on my Model Y actually. I put like grape Kool-Aid jammers and it like sat for a little bit too long, or maybe I usually do like the spill videos, like I do like 1 or 2 at a time. So I think it was still a little wet from before. And for a while it had like a tiny little purple hue around the stitching, and then eventually I got it out. But that's like the most it ever really stained my seat, but it wasn't like ever some bad thing. It was just kind of because I took too long to clean it up.
Gotcha. Okay. Earlier we were doing a quick bit of research, and we noticed that you and Kyle Connor also have a relationship and something about a vehicle. Tell us about that. He's a famous influencer, by the way. He's been here 3 times and done videos at Gruber Motor Company.
Yeah, Kyle's a great guy. We met in such a weird way because I originally reached out to Martian Wheels. I don't know if you know who they are. So I don't know if you know Drew. He's the owner of Martian Wheels. I initially reached out to them at the beginning of 2021 about just like trying to get a set of wheels for the Model Y, because everyone was kind of making fun of my Gemini wheels on the Model Y, and I was like, the wrap just didn't look good with it. So we worked out a deal for the Model Y wheels, and then I didn't know that he was actually like pretty close with Kyle. So like a month later, Kyle's randomly reached out to me about like doing something with the Model Y versus like a Mach-E, and then apparently the Mach-E couldn't charge fast enough, so we had to put that on hold. And then I've just done also a lot of stuff with Kyle. He test drove my Model S Plaid and made a video with it. And then also with my Model X, when we went to Vegas together for the range test, like comparing other electric cars. Mm-hmm. And he also drove the Model X. And I remember in that video that he did, like, it really stressed me out because, Kyle, he drives cars hard.
Does he?
Yeah. And that's what they need. They need someone to do more than just like, oh, look at this cool feature.
It's a good thing. When he came here, we went out in one of the Roadsters, and I did the driving.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I probably would have been impressed if he had gotten behind the wheel.
Yeah, we were going around like mountain roads in Vegas, and in a 6-seater Model X fully loaded. Like I was like stressed out, and people were like, oh, he's mad, but like I was like straight up like, what happens if we fly off? Like, I drive pretty like softly, I would assume, like compared to other people.
Conservatively.
Yeah, very conservatively. Like I'm not racing around, but I mean, it's good that someone is actually like testing these EVs like to what their limits are, because most people don't. And there's definitely space for every manufacturer to improve, especially Tesla with the Model X mainly.
So you mentioned, I didn't know you had a Model S Plaid. Yeah,
I owned it for 6 months. And I was going to own it just for a little bit and then get the Model X. And then they kept pushing out the delivery dates for the Model X, which now they have like 1,500 new ones in inventory. They're flooded with them. But I had it and I really liked it. But honestly, like I kind of realized it isn't worth it to own. It's like a cool car you can just have for a little bit. But unless you really don't care about the money, like it's just not really like like you could be fine with the long range, in my opinion, because the Plaid is too much sometimes.
Is it? Yeah.
It's very quick, and like you don't really get tired of the acceleration. Like it doesn't really feel old.
Right.
It's just like, do I need this all the time? Like so, it's just, like I'm driving this in the city. I'm not like racing everywhere I go. But there's people that do that, and they pay for their car. They can do that. But in the end, the Model S actually broke. It had a heat pump issue. So the whole climate system went out in the beginning of January, and I couldn't really talk much about it, or I didn't really want to, because I didn't really know how to explain it, but now I kind of do. The heat pump system went out, and then they tried to like get it fixed as soon as possible, and
they being Tesla, you mean?
Yeah, and they were like really accommodating. They got me like loaners and everything, so like that was all figured out. But also like the Model S was what I was making content with at the time, and I just didn't have it anymore. So it was broken until like the middle of February, and then I thought it was good. Like I was like, okay, like I'm chilling, and then it broke again with the same issue. And at that point, it had almost been like over a month, like in business days, of having like no Model S. So I posted a video on Twitter as like, come on guys, like come on at Elon Musk, like this happened twice and I don't really want to wait another 6 weeks for it to get fixed. And then the next Monday, like the service manager was calling me up and like the business resolution team was calling me up.
Oh.
And we did a buyback with the Model S, and then they prioritized my Model X order. And that's how I got it so early.
Okay.
And like I think last year I was in Arizona, I was like super excited to get the Model X. And now I'm super excited to sell it because I had my fun with it, but also like they're very clearly moving forward in their hardware and they don't want to retrofit any of the existing Teslas.
Gotcha.
So I'd rather not have 2 Teslas to have hardware 3. I'd rather just have 1.
So it sounds like, based on your story, that Tesla watches Twitter?
Yes, they watch my videos a lot because they've also reposted some of my videos on their Instagram and Twitter, and like people from all over the service centers, like they follow me on different platforms. Mm-hmm. So I don't really talk that much massive about Tesla. If I say something bad, it's like me just kind of calling them out for something that like they deserve to be called out. Like the Model X, you would think that for the high price it'd have better build quality, but it's literally the problem child of Tesla. I had more issues with the Model X than I did with any other Tesla before.
Yeah. We have problems in the service center too, but it's fundamentally because of the climate that we're in. Those doors do not like that heat.
Yeah.
You have if you have a door that's in full sun during the middle of summer here, and it's going to have difficulty doing its thing, which is opening and closing.
Yeah. They also don't like the cold, is what I realized, because when I got the car, it was like, I think it was like 60 degrees out, and then it got colder throughout the day. And the driver's side Falcon wing door has the sensors in it, and one of them was like malfunctioning, so like it thought there was something right up against it, so it would open like a few inches, and it would just like ding at me. And that also stopped the driver's door from fully opening. It would just pop open, and it kept doing this for months. And they replaced some sensors, and it still didn't get fixed. And then like I was just like, I'll just wait until like October when it's colder again, because it was like almost July by the time that like I was trying to get it fixed. And then one day I had the minute because I broke one of the roof glass on the Falcon Wing door somehow with the charging cable. Long story too.
Okay, yeah, sounds like a long story. Yes.
Yeah, and I like they were like looking at it, and I noticed like in the morning they added some more to the service ticket because they had the same issue and they could finally like diagnose it. But like since then I just had so many like tiny issues. Like the half shaft went out. It didn't go out completely, but it was damaged because it's just not good in Model X's. And then they had to replace one of the solenoids, I think it's called. And after that point, I was like, wow, the Model 3 is just so much easier to like own. Like,
really? So you haven't had any issues or any major issues like that with your Model 3?
No, like with the Model 3, I walked up to take delivery, and they're like, oh, there's this tiny little speck in the paint, but we can fix that. And like, I couldn't find anything else with the car. Like, it's built so well. Like, my first Model 3 was built pretty well. My second Model 3 was like questionable. The doors were just not great, but this Model 3, like, it makes all my other Tesla's build quality look like trash. Like, they've really improved it. And I'm sure they've improved on the Model Y too, which I'm glad to see that because those are the ones they sell the most.
Right. So, hey, to our social media team, see, we've always suspected that Tesla watches these types of things. And it sounds like, according to Bradon, he's had experience where they do. So we had a funny story in our podcast. I went on a rant a couple of months ago about this new Corvette that's coming out, which is going to be a hybrid, EV and ICE engine. And I thought, Jim, what are you thinking? What's the purpose of this? We're trying to move to emission-free transportation, and you guys are taking one of your flagship cars and going backwards in time with a hybrid. Now people are going to have twice the maintenance. There wasn't much performance improvement by doing this. And you know what? A month or so later, GM said, no, we're going to also develop a Corvette EV. So we were joking and saying, hey, they must have been watching our podcast,
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Tesla Model S Plaid that you had, you're a conservative driver, right? I had a P90D Ludicrous until it broke, and I'm the cobbler's kids. I don't have any shoes, and my car's just not getting fixed, right? But anyway, it'll eventually be back on the road. But you know, I enjoyed the thrust on that car, and I had a hard time keeping my foot off the accelerator. So I probably should not get a Plaid. Would that be your advice?
I would wait if you're gonna
Yeah.
get one. There's just too much changing with the Model S and the Model X. Like
Okay.
they have, that's why there's so many in inventory. They're going to hardware for. They're changing up different parts of the cars, and it's just not a good buy right now, honestly.
Okay. You know, one of the things that we talked about, I think, in the previous interview that you and I did, was the advice that you might give to any of the social media people, influencers, or people that want to be influencers. And, you know, I respect you greatly because you're a young guy, you've really made a huge impact and created something, you know, out of nothing. What advice would you give to people that want to be successful like you are with social media type platforms?
I'd say just stay consistent no matter what, because it's gonna get bad, and you just need to be ready for it to be bad. Because I've had a lot of times where I'm just like, I just want to quit, just like give up, move on. But also like, if you quit, someone's gonna take your place. You're always gonna be kind of moving forward, and it's just about not giving up no matter what.
Any particular formats that you suggest? You know, like that crazy guy that just put gigantic wheels on a Model 3 and then trashed it completely. Most people don't have enough money to buy a car like that and then completely
That's
destroy
a big
it.
barrier, is
Yeah.
having the car in the first place.
Right, okay.
But short form is always the best way to go.
And I guess you've proven that you can take virtually any concept and be successful with it. You know, I would have never thought that spilling something on a seat and then wiping it up would create 3 million followers on TikTok.
Yeah, me
But,
neither.
You've
Yeah.
proven that it can be done.
Hey,
Yeah,
Pete,
crazy.
so speaking of
Yeah.
that, so we have a quick macro shot of those seats to show you what they look like under a pseudo microscope. But then after we show this, we do need to wrap up here.
Okay, all right. There we go. And it doesn't look like they are porous. I'm looking for little holes. Now, what kind of magnification is that? Is that your new clip-on camera lens
Times
for your
20.
cell phone?
Times 20.
Times 20.
What
Okay.
seat is it?
All right.
What kind of car?
This is a Tesla Model X with the white seats.
Ah, okay. Interesting. Well, thanks for sharing that with us and doing that research. So I guess we need to wrap up. Again, this is a impromptu show. We usually don't do one at this time of the day or on a Friday. Our shows are Tuesday and Thursday, and it looks like we're going to do 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time at this point. And then we've got a special one Wednesday for the Tesla Roadster owners, which is at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And as we get interesting guests or people visiting us or taking tours, we'll do these impromptu podcasts and ask you to join us. So again, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week, Tuesday at 10 a.m.